I'm stood and I'm facing the camera here, and everybody else is there. Apart from the ball, I have no idea what's coming.
Right.
I've no idea. So I'm attacking it blind, and he gets ahead of him. You're taught this when you're a kid, right? When you're in the youth teams and you're coming through, doesn't matter if you're a striker or a wide player. You have to learn to be in this position so that I can see Van Dijk, I can see the ball. So at the very least I'm going to do is, like, when I see him coming, is I'm going to lean into him. So he's going to get the header, but he probably is not going to get it as clean. Whereas I'm stood facing the corner kick being taken, I have not... There could be anything. There could be a wrestling match behind. You wouldn't know. So it's about... And look, it's not all in Mikhailo Mudryk, but he's the guy at the front, the near post, marking the space. You have to have your body in a different position. He didn't, and Van Dijk, boy, did he make them pay.
It depends how far you want to strip it back, to be honest. Because at the end of the day, the most important player on Liverpool's team that you have to keep your eye on is Van Dijk. And the fact that he gets a free run. You know, we saw the controversy over Endo blocking. That's exactly what you should be doing at your own set pieces against blocking people like Van Dijk. So again, strip it back as far as you want. So many mistakes, maybe call them little mistakes, but you know when you add them all up, you end up losing a cup final.
Chelsea be absolutely gutted, Nedum. They've got to focus now on Leeds, who are high-flying in the Championship, by the way, on Wednesday in the FA Cup. How do you recover from such a disappointing defeat as this has proven to be?
Do you know, that is a great question. I'm sure Pochettino will try and say to his side, you know, there's disappointment, but we need to get ready for the next game. And the next game it almost feels like a trap game for them.
Yeah.
You know, playing against a side in the Championship that has a ton of confidence because of the fact that they're winning so many games. Like, Leeds will go and play against Chelsea and believe that they can get a result, especially because Chelsea have had to play an extra time. We saw some of those players today, they were out on their feet. And obviously when you're playing for 2 hours, it can be very, very tough. But it's going to be a tough game for them. But as the guys were saying, you know, they blew it. Like, Chelsea had, at the end of that game, they had more experienced players on the field. They had opportunities within the game to go and score. And it looked like one goal was going to be all you needed in this match. Like, what would the reaction of the Liverpool kids been if Chelsea had a 1-0 lead? Like, how do you navigate through that situation on such a big scale? But I'm sure those Chelsea players would be hugely disappointed. And just one final point, if I can. We were talking about set pieces and stuff like that. For me, defending, for as much as there's a skill, the biggest thing is effort. Deal with it. When the ball's coming in and you're defending a corner, even if you can't head the ball well, just try and head the ball. Just try and block someone. And the value of those blocks, if Van Dijk is off his run by half a yard, he doesn't head the ball into the corner the way that he does. And if you end up getting jumped over by Van Dijk, you say, well, it's a great header by him. But when you look at those moments and say, well, you know, he just had a free header. Well, who was it? Oh, it was Virgil van Dijk. You know, there's going to be disappointment at dressing room, firstly because they've lost and have not had the chances. But the nature of giving away that goal is going to be something which they'll be thinking about until the next time they get a chance to run out on the field. But I'm sure Leeds will be trying to do the same thing.
That's a really good way that Nedum put it there. Chelsea blew it.
Yep, and there's no way of sugarcoating that.
They blew a huge opportunity because of Liverpool's problems. And if Liverpool had not won this game, nobody would have batted an eyelid. No. Really.
No, take a look at the starting, well, the finishing 11 that Liverpool had. Look at the ages of these kids. Not only the ages, but the time, the minutes that they've played first-team football.
If Chelsea had gone on and kept that momentum going, nobody would have said, Liverpool here, they've missed their big chance. People would have said, and rightly so, my God, didn't these kids put up a fight? But Chelsea were too experienced, they were too strong, they spent too much money, and Liverpool were the walking wounded. But we're not. What we're saying is, these kids did brilliant, and the other side, well, they went and blew it.
Yeah.
They just blew their big opportunity because 4 weeks ago, this side were dead and buried, Chelsea, right? In fact, at one point, we were ever contemplating coming up and putting this broadcast together. It was going to be so one-sided. And here was an opportunity. Chelsea playing better, Chelsea with confidence after beating Villa, drawn at the Etihad, and Liverpool, the treatment room was full, and there was going to be more people going in it. And yet, they lost the belief, the intensity, and the ability to control this game.
Yep.
And they allowed these youngsters to have their moment in the sun. And boy, did they do it.
And we deservedly gave Chelsea credit for the win at Villa Park, for the point. That's out the window. That's down the toilet now.
Yep.
You've absolutely blown your best chance of getting silverware this season. And as Nedum said, you've got a trap game coming up now against Leeds, who just beat Leicester in the Championship. They're going to Stamford Bridge, going, bring it on.
Well, I don't want to be sarcastic, but if any team knows about trying to recover from a disaster, it's Chelsea. They've been doing it all season long.
Yeah, but this is the lowest of the... This is unmitigating, isn't it?
I think what it tells us is this Chelsea side, when the onus is on them and they're in pole position to go and win a game and play the other side off the field, they're not capable. They're just not capable. The two ones we're talking about, Villa and Man City, they were underdogs going in, they kept it tight and they broke. That's what they did. They didn't go and outplay anybody. They haven't gone and outplayed anybody all season. And they get an opportunity in a cup final to play against a bunch of kids and you've got them by the throat and they just let it go.
How can... Look who came on. Nkunku, Mudryk, you've got Madueke and Chalobah as well.
Yeah.
All with experience.
Well, what happened was...
They did nothing.
Well, they lost any semblance of control in the middle of the park. They lost it in extra time. And there is not... I don't think there is a bunch of criticism coming Chelsea's way for the 90 minutes. Maybe a little bit on the finishing and the poor decision-making in the final third, but there was actually a lot of good play. However, there is a mountain of criticism coming their way for extra time.
Yeah.
A mountain. The way that they allowed the momentum to slip away. And again, I go back to it. I don't want to be rude to younger players, but as ex-players, when you see a weakness in the team, you go for it.
Yep.
You know, when the manager's giving a team talk, he doesn't say, he's inexperienced, so don't make it too hard for him. He's like, let's get at him. Right. Get at him. Yeah. So you try and utilise all the deficiencies in an opposing team. So when all these youngsters came on, good young players, talented, getting some game time, but this is a new movie for them. Games going around the world, there's almost 100,000 there. It's a cup final against Chelsea, who've spent $1 billion. You've got to focus on that weak point and you've got to go for it.
Yeah.
They didn't. They sat back and they allowed these young guys to go, do you know what? This playing in the cup final is actually pretty good. We're getting on the ball. Nobody's closing us down. We're getting our passes in the game. And these young guys, they got confident. And all of a sudden, they're dominating the game. And Caicedo and Fernandes and others are just stood by and watching these kids have their moment. And that's down to Chelsea. That is down to Chelsea, who basically, for some reason, in extra time, down tools.
Stood by is absolutely perfect, because when you step on the field as a youngster, the manager's telling you to do this, the manager's telling you to do that, your head's spinning.
Right.
You're trying to clear your brain. And so the last thing you want is to step on the field and have the opposition putting you under pressure, because that just doubles down on it.
You just want you just want to keep everything simple.
Just keep it simple. Give me plenty of time on the ball. Let me find my feet. Give me some time to get into the game. I mean, it was almost like Chelsea said, oh, there you go, we'll stand off you and let you find your feet. I mean, McConnell from the middle of the park in extra time was spraying balls left and right. I mean, it's absolutely unacceptable what happened in the extra time. And with Craig, the 90 minutes, yeah, they had chances, coulda, woulda, shoulda, but it didn't quite work. But the extra time, the fact that they stood off kids is unacceptable. It's just unacceptable.
We heard Champers at the full-time whistle being very optimistic regarding Liverpool's possibilities of a quadruple, with those final matches of the season all coming at the end of May. However, another injury that Jurgen Klopp has to deal with today. We saw Gravenberch in a boot, didn't we, in those celebrations. It's a long list, Stevie, and the problem that Liverpool have, stating the obvious, is Arsenal and Manchester City.
Yeah, in games.
Yeah.
It's not like they're going to get time to recover.
Yes. You've got Southampton midweek, and then you've got Forest at the weekend, then you've got Sparta Prague in the Europa League, then you've got City.
And then you've got City. I mean, and on and on and on.
The Europa League might become an afterthought.
Would you agree with that sentiment, that it should be an afterthought?
Which one?
The Europa League now. If you've got the FA Cup more, Have you got the FA Cup?
Do you know, I don't even...
and the league. I
think the problem is...
Or do you even have the squad to make those choices?
Well, that's the problem. It's OK if you can rotate and say, well, you know what, I'll rest 4 or 5 guys because it's not as important as winning the league. He's not in a position to do that. You saw the bare bones that he's got. He finished with 3 first-team players. And he didn't finish with 3 first-team players because he thought, I'll go rest some guys. He had absolutely no choice. And again, you can probably add Diaz to that because having done it myself, the way he's running around, it looks like a groin problem. And that means there's no chance for Wednesday and absolutely no chance for the weekend if you're lucky. So this is a case of, I wish I could, but unfortunately, I'm sorry, this is the only 11 I've got. You're going to have to play again.
That injury list that we put up, probably 50% of them, you wouldn't bat an eyelid if they're available or not. But the other 50%, give or take, if he doesn't get those players back, I mean, you know, Kelleher was brilliant for Alisson. Maybe you'd get away with that. If, say, Alisson was out long-term to this end of the season, which he's not, you might get away with... But then you're looking at the other end, the midfield. You know, Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones has played a lot of games and has been a big player for them, particularly in the first half of the season. And then you look at the front line, Salah and Nunez. You know, so there's 4 or 5 players out of that list of, I don't know what it was almost looked like 10. There's at least 5 in there that he needs to get back sooner rather than later.
They can't win the Premier League without those guys.
Without them back,
you
he's not
can't.
winning, no.
You just can't.
But for the moment, it's all about celebrating the Carabao Cup.